Okay, AmeriCup Final 8 is here, down to the knockout stage after starting off with 12 teams. We're down to 8. At the time this is being streamed, Eurobasket's also going on. Eurobasket just started today, previewed that. Um, the preview's not late. If you want to go see it, still out there. Got a clip out there as well. The preview is long. It's 90 minutes. We got into a lot, Joe Delera and I. Appreciate him for joining that. We talked about all things Eurobasket, went through every roster, every group, every team, damn near every scenario, made some predictions, had a good time, and appreciate everyone for checking that out if they did. And if you haven't, go do it. And if not, no hard feelings, whatever. So let's talk about the AmeriCup. The AmeriCup's actually been good, falling under the radar as expected, but been a real good tournament. With a couple of surprises and one major major incident that took place. Let's actually start there as we're recapping all the groups. As a matter of fact, let's not. Let's go group by group. We'll start with Group A. I will share my screen in a moment, but a few different things happened, some of which was surprising, some of which not as much. But ultimately, this is what went down in looking at the everything coming away from FIBA AmeriCup. Okay, let's share screen. Let's go right into it. We have Group A. So let me actually make this a little bit and turn this here. Yep. Okay. As always mentioned, Wikipedia has the best sort of interface, most organized way of looking at this. So, if you have any issues with Wikipedia, then I don't know how you graduated school. Okay. Here we go. Team USA, Uruguay, Brazil, and the Bahamas. So going into this, I felt like USA and Brazil would move on, and then it'd be between the Bahamian national team and Uruguay. From there, ultimately, whoever beat the other one, I thought would move on potentially. More or less, that's what happened. The other thing is, though, the big thing from this group is that Team USA lost to Uruguay. Team USA just straight up lost to them. And this is after Team USA needed overtime to beat the Bahamian national team. Now, this is not anyone's absolute apex A+ team. Team USA is the furthest away from that out of everyone in this tournament. But Uruguay is missing a couple of major components, and the Bahamian national team as well. Like, they don't have like Buddy Hield. They don't have DeAndre Ayton. Obviously, they don't have VJ Edgecombe. They did last year in the Olympic qualifying tournament. He's getting ready for his rookie NBA season. And in looking at just the rosters, Team USA, obviously, like they're rolling out a G League squad, and some would say, and I would agree with this, not even the best G League squad that you could throw out there, to be honest with you. So in looking at the groups here, Team USA still manages to win the group despite losing to Uruguay. Here's why. Brazil beats them first game, beats Uruguay the first game. Team USA beats the Bahamian national team by 12 in overtime. So point differential matters a ton, especially when it gets this dicey. This is the only group we had where you had a three-way tie for first place, where three teams were all 2-1, or 2-1, and the Bahamian national team was 0-3, unfortunately, even though the point differential was -39. So that's 13 points a loss. It could be a lot worse. A lot of 0-3 teams are, in fact, a lot worse. The Bahamian national team, I thought, would perform slightly better, but at the same time, they pushed Team USA to overtime, and they had a close call against Uruguay last night. So, or was it the night before? Whatever. Actually, it was last night. I was right the first time. Team USA, Bahamas. Okay, so they win in overtime. And Brazil and the Bahamian national team here. This is the one that got away from the Bahamian national team and put them in a position where they absolutely had to win this game next against Uruguay. And then Uruguay beats the United States here. I mentioned him in the preview show. Santiago Vescovi was a really good college basketball player at Tennessee, is now playing in Spain. He had 24. People from Uruguay were very, very happy with him on social media and stuff. They were shit posting memes You just got beaten by, so and so. Um, to the Americans, Langston Galloway, as mentioned, face of the team. He's the best player on the team. He's the best scorer on the team. I don't think I don't think Langston Galloway should be leading a Team USA team, but we're here, right? Like this is what it is. And then moving on, Team USA, it got dicey with Brazil there. They were actually losing at halftime. No surprise, Brazil was actually favored to win that game by 3.5 points. And then Team USA kicked it into gear. Javante Smart, former Heat, really good game. They outscored Brazil 50-32 in the second half. So from there, you have Team USA then taking the Bahamian national team win, taking the Brazil win. The Brazil win by 12. They end up winning in terms of point differential. And then Brazil is third here because of head-to-head results. And despite having the advantage of point differential over Uruguay, this is just how it shakes out. So it's kind of confusing, but like this is, points for also matter, points score when you get to this point. But ultimately, if you win 2 games in this style of tournament, you're going to move on. And that's what happens here. We'll get to how it changes up and how it builds out the knockout stage next, because it's very interesting how that sort of goes down there. Okay. Canada, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Panama. This is Group B. And it came down to the final evening. Panama and Venezuela both lost by 34 in their opening games to Puerto Rico and Canada, respectively. Puerto Rico beats Venezuela 97-70. Canada beats Panama by 50. Venezuela beats Panama 77-73. And then Canada and PR. The Puerto Rican national team played a really good game up until literally the last couple minutes. It just got away from them there. Couldn't make a couple key shots. Jose Alvarado missed some free throws. Canada ends up winning. Kaishan George, great game. Kabengele, he's had a good time in terms of being a paint presence. He rebounded the ball really well in that game. He had 10. Jose Alvarado had 20, left a few meaningful ones on the board, but that was the game of the group to pay attention to in terms of who wins the group. And we'll see how that affects things going forward in terms of the point differential. PR was plus 52, Canada plus 93 after beating PR by 9. It didn't look like it was going to be more than a 1-possession game down the stretch. They end up winning down the stretch and also covering. They were favored by 5.5. Of course, I had PR plus 5.5, but it couldn't come through for me. Is what it is. And then Venezuela and Panama, just the point differential was way too much to overcome at that point. When you come out the gate losing by 34, it's just tough sledding from there. Then Venezuela compounds that with a 27-point loss against PR. Panama does it with a 50-point loss to Canada. So at that point, you have a close game with the other team in the third game. You don't have much of a chance to move on from there. So that's Group B. And then Group C. The Dominican Republic, Argentina, Colombia, and Nicaragua. DR wins the group, not without controversy. So let's get to this now, because this is actually important. So following the first game, which was a fantastic game, it was one of the best games in all of the group, DR wins overtime 84-83, and these two teams get into a fight. I won't play the audio from it. You'll see the video. So here's the fight. Here's the fight between DR and Argentina, which I recorded as it was going on. Obviously, FIBA had this on the stream. And ultimately, this is what went down. You see legitimately punches thrown. A couple guys hit the deck. David Jones Garcia gets active in this. He's not the only one. We'll get to why that was the case. You see here, it continues. Yeah, and ultimately, both teams need to be separated. There's some things that reportedly led to that, which we'll get to. A bunch of people found this tweet. Merrill found this tweet. It's got bookmarked 20 times, which, cool, I guess. I don't really care about that particular part of it. You see, Cooler has trying to prevail there. Joel Soriano really had an issue with somebody. He went back at somebody later on. So I'm skip ahead here by a minute. The reason why this was a 2 minute video was because you wanted to make sure you get all of it. Soriano here, is going at somebody from Argentina's team, presumably, is being held down. And that's pretty much it. So there's the fight. Now, the other piece of this is the suspensions that came after. So these are the suspensions, and this bleeds over into the knockout stage. This is why I'm bringing this up. This bleeds over into the knockout stage. This is going to affect some of the things that we see when the knockout stage games come along Thursday afternoon into the evening. All of the knockout games are Thursday, and then the tournament will be done by Sunday. We'll get to those things in a little bit. The Dominican Republic, suspensions coming away from this. So David Jones Garcia, 2 games. He's already served 1. He'll be suspended for the first game of the knockout stage. Very important. He's DR's best player, averaged north of 20 points in the 2 games that he played. Very instrumental in both efforts, especially the win against Argentina. Juan Guerrero and Juan Suero, both 1 game each. And then Angel Delgado, 1 game. All of these guys already served their game. They sat the last game. DR barely beat Nicaragua as a result of these suspensions, but they still won the group as a result. Delgado also gets a probationary period of 3 years. If the player, and this is what that means, if the player commits the same or similar offense during the probationary period, he will immediately be suspended 1 game in addition to any sanction imposed for the new offense. And then there were some monetary fines as well, and a probationary period overall. So that's that. Argentina, for their role in this, Gonzalo Bressan, suspended for 2 games, already served 1. And then all these guys already, Juan Valette and Francisco Cafaro, 1 game each. They got a monetary fine as well to their coach, former NBA guard Pablo Prigioni. And the team overall gets their monetary fine and, suspension for a probationary period of 3 years as well. And FIBA says they'll make no further comment on the decision afterwards. So there's that on that. So that's a suspension. So 2 of these suspensions will bleed over into the knockout stage. David Jones Garcia, which is the big one, and then Gonzalo Bressan. His suspension is going to also be bleeding over into the knockout stage where Argentina is going to be competing. We'll get to who and why and how in a second, but these are the details coming away from that. We also have a statement from David Jones Garcia. I will translate this in English. I have the English translation right here. I could read this in Spanish, but my Spanish is it's gotten better, but it's not quite where I want it to be. I'm still not that comfortable with it yet. I'm like Ben Simmons with Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm scared to shoot. It's gotten better, but it still sound like too much of a gringo. I ain't gonna lie. So here's the translation of David Jones Garcia's statement, which I thought was a great statement. All things considered, again, he will be suspended a second game, but the quote is, "Violence is never the answer. At the end of the game, things got out of control after an Argentine player hit me and another player received racial insults. The adrenaline took over, but I take responsibility for my actions. I want to apologize to everyone, to my country, to FIBA for organizing a great tournament, to the San Antonio Spurs," he's on a 2-way contract with the Spurs, "who expect more from me as a professional, and to the Argentine people." Continuing, "As Latinos, we should support each other, grow together, and continue promoting the sport we love so much. I let my emotions get the better of me, but experiences like this help me grow and strengthen my emotional intelligence. I will always represent the Dominican Republic with pride and give my best." Great statement. I didn't think that was bullshit. I didn't think that was just one of these things where it's like, oh, the athletes just like, just playing the hits, so to speak. I thought that was very, very well done by David Jones Garcia. What I will also add is there were several people who several Dominicans who were in the comment section of the video I posted and being like, "Oh, I bet you they said something racist." And some of them came out and said, "Yeah, that they did. Brian, you got to see this." Like, and I was linked to a couple different stories. And what I will tell you is, if you're not super familiar with Latinos and the Latino community, people have given Argentines this reputation, this sort of elitist reputation of like there wasn't a lot of surprise that this happened, is what I'll say. And a lot of people leapt to they probably said something racist, and this is why the Dominicans reacted that way. People would then come out and say, "Hey, Dominicans have their own issues, whatever, whatever." You see the Dominican flag behind me. My fiance is Dominican. Um, what I'll say to that is, I I wanted to wait and make sure, like, yeah, this is what actually happened, and then the statement came out from David Jones Garcia, so we're there. I am somebody who thinks this, like, there's no place for this in sports and just period. Like, I'm not here for the racist shit, right? I'm not here for those types of insults or whatever. Um, not it's not in a joking matter in this regard. Like, we can have conversations about, like, you know, all these different things, but it sucks that it was so, like, just obvious. Like, a lot of people just leapt to that conclusion and they were right. You know what I mean? So the Argentinian basketball team has to do better. Like, there's enough going on where, like, we don't need to do this. So and it would explain the sort of rage that David Jones Garcia had in that moment. Because ultimately, when you are given those sort of insults in the heat of the moment, especially after an athletic competition at that level, yeah, you're probably going to react that way. That's not an excuse. That's more of an explanation. It's not to say he shouldn't have gotten suspended. I do think there's a time and a place for fisticuffs. I'm not sure that was a time or the place, but sometimes people need to get their ass whooped to learn a lesson. And in fact, I would say that in this country, a lot more people need to, because of the way we handle things as it pertains to race. We're starting to get a little more desensitized when these certain things come up after a supposed racial awakening in 2020, where everyone was doing the fake, like, "Oh, I hear you, I understand you," shit, and now we're right back to where we were prior. In fact, maybe in a worse place in some regard. So this shouldn't be happening ultimately. Um, David Jones Garcia could have handled that better. I think both teams could have handled that better in totality. I thought that David Jones Garcia, though, made a profoundly, like, well thought out statement, it appears. And if the Dominican Republic makes it to the semifinals, he'll be back. And, you know, that's that on that. And as far as Argentina goes, yeah, I'm still unclear as to who were the perpetrators, so to speak. But we saw the suspensions list, and it's just not, like, just especially after you lose a game. Like, there's not a good time for a racial insult, but especially after you lose a game, come on, man, we can do a lot better than that. Okay, let's go to Group C. Back to Group C. DR moves on. Argentina moves on. Colombia, not historically a basketball power, is what I'll say. And Nicaragua, the hosts, who obviously had ambitions and look more competitive than I thought in a couple different instances. DR mollywops Colombia to start. Argentina beats up on Nicaragua to start. DR and Argentina, we just extensively talked about that in overtime. They have their game here. And then Colombia beats Nicaragua by 3 points, which that was the game that was going to determine who was going to move on ultimately. Norchad Omier, God, man, 30 and 20. And watching that game, I thought he was gonna, like, I had said it before. I was like, if they win a game, it's because Norchad Omier just goes off because he's better than everyone on the Colombian national team. But well-roundedness matters when you're looking at 1 through 12, and having the best player in a game, it doesn't particularly matter if they don't get enough help. So that's that. You move on. Argentina, after the suspensions, barely beat Colombia. 1 point game. Very good effort from Colombia. And then you have DR and Nicaragua from the suspensions. They hang on and beat Nicaragua. Those were extremely meaningful games. Extremely, as it pertains to how this tournament is going to shake out. So, in looking at the rankings of the third place team, Brazil moves on, Colombia moves on, and Venezuela, just the point differentials -57. They had no shot. So here is your knockout stage. Here is your knockout stage in the tournament. Well, here were actually the rankings first. Here's how they were ranked, 1 through 8, so that you can get an idea of like how the sort of seeding shakes out. I am confused by the seeding a little bit. We'll get to that very, very shortly. Canada gets the top spot. Best point differential by far, 93, plus 93. PR is actually second, but they were in the same group. They weren't going to get second place, especially because the Dominican Republic won their group. So Team USA is here because you have the 3 group winners in the top 3 spots: Canada, DR, USA. Puerto Rico is the best of the second place teams, so they're 4th overall, plus 52 point differential, a couple blowout wins and a competitive loss to Canada. Argentina has the competitive loss with DR, a close win and a blowout win. They're plus 24. They're second amongst the second place teams, 5th overall. And Uruguay, who's 2-1, who had the Team USA win, who's plus 5, they move on here. And then Brazil is in 3rd. They lost to Team USA. And even though they beat Uruguay, they lost to Team USA. Team USA is up here. So this is how this sort of shakes out. And then Uruguay scores more points as well. Because I know some people will be confused by that. But when it's like the top 3 is like Team USA, Uruguay, Brazil. USA loses to Uruguay. Uruguay loses to Brazil, but Brazil loses to USA. So you just have to use other tiebreakers because it goes by points. They all have the same amount of points in terms of like points literally here. Like soccer, you win and you get 3 points, like that kind of thing. Well, it's 2 here, but you get the point. And then points difference. So point differential is what we've been talking about here. And then the other thing is points scored. And Uruguay scored more points than Brazil. So that's why they're going to be ahead here slightly. And that does have an impact on the bracket. And Colombia here, the only team without 2 wins, and they're moving on as well. They're 8th. As far as how 9, 10, 11, 12 goes, we'll see. But these are your top 8. Canada versus Colombia, 1 versus 8. Pretty straightforward. PR versus Argentina, 4 versus 5. Pretty straightforward. 3 versus 6 is Team USA versus Uruguay. Now, FIBA doesn't always put 2 teams from the same group into the next phase to play each other again. This feels like a Team USA bounce back spot where they might just beat Uruguay. We'll see. And then Brazil faces DR. So DR, this kind of stinks for them because you win your group. You're going to be playing the tournament favorites without your best player and David Jones Garcia because he's going to be out this game. And PR is going to have a beneficiary outcome as well, given that, you know, Argentina will be without Gonzalo Bressan for this game. We'll get to some stats in a short bit. But this is how the tournament shakes out. All these games are going to be August 28th. So Thursday, in order, as a matter of fact, let's do that now. Well, actually, no, this is good here. Let's do it this way. So this is relative to my time out on the East Coast. I'm in New York. So DR Brazil's first. That's going to be 15:10. It's going to be 3:10 Eastern time, 12:10 Pacific. Check where you are in the world. The tournament is actually on Central Time in Nicaragua. Team USA is going to play Uruguay next. So you have that a little bit later before 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:40. PR is going to play Argentina at 8:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then Canada versus Colombia at 11:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's going to be late. I'll be up watching all 4 games. And then we'll have our semifinal from there. As far as the semifinal schedule goes, there are going to be no games from this tournament Friday, so you can tune into Eurobasket if you're so inclined. Semifinals are going to be August 30th, both games on Saturday. And then Friday, Friday, excuse me, my bad. Sunday, you have your championship. Sunday, you have your championship and your bronze medal game. The bronze medal game is obviously going to be first earlier in the day. And I'm planning on Sunday afterwards having a some sort of show after the fact. So, in looking at the times here, it appears that the third place game is going to be at 16:40. It's 4:40 p.m. Eastern time. And then the final is going to be at 2010. Oh, that's beautiful because I work from 12 to 8. I have a shift from 12 to 8 at my job at the Post where I'm going to be editing some stuff, writing some stuff. Did some on camera stuff this week. That'll be up there at the Post as well. So right when I get off, the final will start. So I can do a post game show for the championship that night. It'll be around roughly 10 o'clock, 10:30, something along those lines, probably 10:30. We'll see the celebration and stuff too. And as far as the last four teams and how they're ranked, Panama's dead last. Bahamas is 11th, Nicaragua 10, Venezuela 9. If I would have guessed 1 to 12, I should have probably predicted 1 to 12 before the tournament started, but I would have had something similar to this. I would have had the Bahamian national team slightly higher. And probably Venezuela or Colombia in the last spot. I felt like everyone else would move on, or Uruguay, Bahamas. Like I was going back and forth on those two. I kind of lean Bahamas, but Santiago Vescovi, who I liked, I should have talked him up more. I really liked him in college. I feel like, even still, I feel like why not? Why can't he get a two-way? Like I think he's good. Okay, let's get some stats before we get out of here. We have some stats here. Okay, tournament leaders in points right now. Bahamian national team has top two scorers. They played some high scoring games. They haven't gotten a lot of stops. It's kind of their problem. You have Dominic Bridgewater, Franco Miller. Dominic Bridgewater, Franco Miller, top two scorers in tournaments so far. North Chadomir. You see David Jones. He's suspended 2 games. That second game is coming. 4 guys in this tournament, averaging north of 20 points per game. Jones is the only one left in the tournament that's doing that, and he is not going to play next game, it appears. So there's that. And in looking at just the rest of this, with the Puerto Rican national team, they've had a really balanced offense. I'm curious to see how they're going to match up with Argentina. They have a really balanced offense here. Jose Alvarado, Jean Clavel, Ismael Romero, 15.3 points per game, all 3 of them. All three of them shooting good percentages, although Romero, because it's mostly layups, 76%. He's been very good in transition. Like very good getting out into the open court, actually finishing through some contact too. His free throw shooting has not typically been awesome. He's been really good from the line in this tournament, as a matter of fact. Getting to the line 6 times per game, 18 total. He's made 78%. You'll take that. I think that means he's making, if I'm not mistaken, 14 of his 18 free throws, something along those lines. 4.7. So yeah, that should be 14. Yeah, 14 divided by 3 should be 4.7. Yeah. Okay. So he should be 14 of 18 from free throw. I should clip that and post it. That was weird. Weird how it did that. Langston Galloway, 15.3 points per game, leading Team USA so far. Where is Santiago Vescovi? Here he is, 13.3. Not even leading his team in scoring. He had that one great game. Joaquin Rodriguez, Bruno Fittipaldo, 17 and 16 points per game, respectively. So you're looking at some of the top scorers here. Iago dos Santos, from Brazil, 14.3 points per game as well. Kaishan George leading Canada at nearly 15 per game as well. So these are some of the top players in the tournament so far. Points aren't everything, obviously. Yoel Soriano is actually one of the guys that I expect to step up in the absence, of David Jones Garcia, because one of the things you can do against PR, less so now because George Condit is the best center they've had in a while. Much better than Jorge Brian Diaz, no disrespect. And they have Romero too, and they start both of them. So they're not as small as they typically are, even though the guards are usually smaller, quicker, cagier. Soriano, like, he is going to be very competitive in that game on the glass. DR needs him to be a double threat, needs him to clean it up in the paint as well. Angel Delgado should be back, so we'll see how that goes as well. Here's Condit right here. Let's look at some other numbers. Let's look at rebounds, as a matter of fact. Let's look at rebounds. So we have North Chadomir with 18.3 rebounds per game, just casually, just walking around with 20 and 20. George Condit has actually been great on the glass so far with 10. David Jones had nearly 9. Um, Andres Feliz from the guard spot at 6, so on and so forth. So you're getting a look at this. And one more thing I wanted to check because this is going to be very important in this round, especially threes. Alexi Borges leading so far in percentage. He's not taking a ton of threes though. Can we get 3-point makes as a matter of fact? No, we can't get 3-point makes. That's fine. And just looking through here, we have like a lot of 3-point volume coming from Colombia here. Where is he? Hassel Atencia, who's right in front of my face. 13, he's jacked up 34 threes in this tournament so far. 11.3 per game in a 3-game tournament. He's made 13. He's also making 38%. That's great. Canada's going to get him up. Brazil's going to get him up. PR is going to get him up. A lot of teams here are going to get him up. Santiago Vescovi, 6 of 11. I think he could have a pretty, like, he's going to have a meaningful showing in that game against PR. And just looking at the games one more time, let's go back to the schedule before we get out of here. And looking at the games once more, so let's actually do some predictions before we get out of here. Let's do some predictions. I could speak. DR Brazil. I'm going to say Brazil because one, just better coming in, but two, without Jones Garcia, I don't know how you beat Brazil without your best player. You can. It's a 1-game sample. Like you could just Joel Soriano steps up, Andres Feliz makes some shots. You know, your team shoots 40% from 3, and Brazil just has one of those cold nights. Like it could absolutely happen. I wouldn't favor it though. As a matter of fact, now that we're talking this out, why not do it this way? But I think ultimately Brazil is going to take that more than likely. They're not favored by much though, so let's look at some odds. Actually, Brazil -5.5. I could see that. USA against Uruguay. Wow, the bounce back spot in effect. -11.5 for Team USA to be favored to win this game, and they're the favorites. Not a surprise there. PR 4.5 against Argentina. As somebody who is obviously I support my fellow Boricuas. I don't love when we're favored. This makes me nervous. Same thing, same way I am with the Mets. And I've said this before. The only teams I'm really a fan of, the Mets, Puerto Rican national team, Real Betis as well in football. I went to Sevilla earlier this year, fell in love. It was great. So that's my team in La Liga. Match day is actually today. I should have worn my hat. It's over there, but it's still too hot in the apartment to do all that shit. And then Canada versus Colombia, 19.5. That's not a surprise there. I do think the favorite most likely to lose in this scenario, you could say Uruguay because they're already, you could say Team USA because Uruguay already beat them. You could also say PR, but Argentina is, they're not shorthanded in that game. Although it's not as devastating as the Dominican Republic missing their absolute best player, but at the same time, it's not like Gonzalo Bresson. He's just a role player, but at the same time, he was averaging 8 minutes a game the first couple games, but he can be productive in short spurts, especially from just a size perspective. I would call him a center, even though he's undersized for the position. He's 6'8". So I think the Puerto Rican national team does benefit from him not being there, but it doesn't swing. He doesn't matter to the spread. I don't think he swings the game a great deal. I do think PR is better though. I could see all favorites winning. That's just not what typically happens. So I would say Argentina probably has the best chance of all the underdogs. The spreads will reflect that, but I still think PR wins that game. And then DR Brazil is interesting. Uruguay, can they do it again against Team USA? I have my doubts, but who knows? I think it'd be really, really fun if they did. I think it'd be really fun if they did. And then you would get Brazil or the Dominican Republic versus Uruguay, and Canada versus Colombia. if I'm Colombia, I'm trying to not just jack threes, I'm trying to generate a lot of clean looks from three, as many as possible. That's how you could try to overcome Canada's just speed and athleticism. You have to try to outshoot them, and hope that Canada and not hope, but defend Canada really well at the perimeter, run them off the line, bump them around, be physical with them, try to get them uncomfortable, and really like make a concerted effort to tilt the game in your favor in terms of 3-point shooting, but also just not turning the ball over a ton because Canada will get out on the break and they'll run you off the floor. So that's how I think Canada can get that done. But ultimately, I think like I'll just rock with I guess I'll just go chalk and be boring and rock with the four favorites here. I mean, to be fair, I thought Canada, PR, USA, and Brazil would be the final four before this started. So I'm not going to back off that. And inevitably, one or two of those teams will end up losing, and then whatever. But I'll tell you what, at PR, I am nervous about Argentina. I'll say that much. I'll say that much. But no, it should be great. It should be fun. It should be an awesome Final Four. And the next time I talk about this tournament, it'll be after the championship, and we'll recap it and see what we learned from the FIBA AmeriCup. Thank y'all for watching. If you do watch this later, leave a comment, send a DM, join the Discord channel. This is in the description. I think did I actually put it ahead of the stream this time? Let's see. No, I did not. So I'm going to do that right now. And I'm going to get out of here. Eurobasket's going on. I'm also going to watch some of that. And yeah, we'll be back with more international basketball this